Well, hello everyone and welcome to Diaspora TV. My name is Ambassador John and I am glad that you are joining us. Wherever you're watching us from, I hope you are keeping up well and I hope you are doing well in these uncertain times. Well, in our studios tonight, we have very interesting guests. We have on my right,
Antonio Diambo.
And on my left,
Gloria Iremu.
Welcome very much to Diaspora Studios. Now today we are going to be discussing about why Diaspora, why we chose to come to Diaspora. And we are so glad that you could join us. And I would like us to start with our sister Gloria, and she'll tell us why Diaspora.
I came to Diaspora, specifically Australia, Adelaide, to further my studies and for a greener pasture, I will say.
Oh, thank you very much, Anthony.
I came to Australia, specifically Adelaide, just for a better opportunities and future for my family.
Thank you very much. Now, you see, people move from their countries overboard, and this, in English terms, we call it brain drain, especially where we are having people who are highly educated moving to these countries. It becomes brain drain, and because of this we find that in these developing countries the human resources are deprived of the human power and economic power that is brought by highly qualified people. Now we've seen, like, for example, we come from Kenya, all of us, and we've seen that in Kenya, so many people are in the US, in the UK, and some in Australia, some in the Gulf, some in Europe, and all over the world. Especially in the US, we have a very large majority, nearly, I think, 200,000 people in the US alone. And this population, this group of people, contribute to what we call diaspora, the remittance from diaspora. And if these people are to work in Kenya in their fields, we would find that we'll be probably developed as other countries are. Well, what are some of these issues that pushed you, Anthony, to come to Australia? And what were you doing before you came to Australia?
Thanks, John. For me, I was an IT expert, graduated, did all my full studies in Kenya, worked for a couple of years, and then I opted to come over because basically you work so hard, you feel like you've accomplished a lot in your career, you have the experience, but when it gets to what you get back in terms of earning, it doesn't match your efforts, and at the same time you find that you could work, at times I could work almost 24 hours and you don't get anything on top. So you feel like you are giving so much out there, but you are getting less. It's good that you get more experience when you're out there. I would say I got a lot of experience in Kenya, but the main thing is they pay what you get back, and how does it compensate, and how does it make your life and your family.
And for example, you see, like here in Australia, we get paid fortnightly, and in Kenya you get paid monthly. But the amount of money you get in Kenya is not even nearly the amount you get here in Australia fortnightly. So why do you think there's that disparity?
I'll also look at it in a different way. It might be what you're getting in Kenya is less. For example, what you're getting in Kenya maybe is what you're getting here after a couple of days, less than a week. But the cost of living versus what you get back at home, I would say that the disparity, there's a big gap. And then when you come here, there's the cost of living versus what you get. At least there's a balance, in as much as it depends how you plan your life when you come here, because you'll come here and then you get into so many commitments, you'll not feel the value. But again, you might get into so many commitments, but if you go back home and compare, you find that you are able to do more with what you're getting here. You can even help your people back at home. And for example, the people who are coming here to study, if you look at it, when you're in Kenya, how possible was it that you're going to work? Of course, most of the jobs is between 8 and 5. And how possible was it that with what you're earning, you're able to pay for your first degree or your master's, and you're still working and you have a family to support? But when you're here, you're able to do that. You just need to balance your timing and everything.
That's very well said. But my query is, we find that the amount of money we get here, it has more economic power, and that amount of money, it's not possible to get it in Kenya.
Absolutely.
Why is this disparity? Why can't we get this same reward when we do the same kind of job in Kenya? Because that's what mostly drives us to come to diaspora.
I would say it's a tricky question, but again, I would say in a nutshell, it's more of the value that your employer puts in you, and also the value that I would say your system, that's the government and your country, the value that it puts into what you have, because you've invested so much in your education. Of course, when you start, you'll start low, but as you build your experience, that goes down. But at the same time, the other problem back at home is there are no jobs. I mean, the opportunities are not as much as what you can get out here.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who I graduated with that I know of. They had to switch careers to something else. Some have gone into even farming, and yet they are IT experts, graduates. Some even are their first class, but there are no jobs. I mean, that's something that the government and the system really has to look at, because if you don't have a job, you don't even have that salary that some were lucky to have when they cleared their university.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Now, I would like to remind your viewers that we are also live on YouTube, and in these times, we find that there's this narrative of Black Lives Matter, and I would also like to say Black livelihoods matter. If Black people could support one another, we could be far by now. So may you please subscribe to our channel. Just click the link that it's on the description there about our YouTube account and subscribe. We are also live there, and support the Black people who are trying to do something in diaspora. Thank you very much. Now I want to go to Gloria. Well, in lieu of what Anthony has discussed, is there something that you would like to add?
Just because before I came to Australia, I was not working or anything, so I just finished school, and I think after an year I immediately came to study to Australia, so I wouldn't have any experience on working and studying at higher level like a degree in Kenya. So for that, I'll just leave it as Anthony has said.
You currently an enrolled nurse, and you studied here in Australia. Well, why was it not possible for you to study in Kenya and work in Kenya?
Well, it's not that it was not possible for me to study in Kenya, but the chances of me studying in Kenya and and getting maybe a good job as fast as I maybe will get here in Australia, there's a big difference. But I still think studying in Kenya or studying in Australia, studying in Kenya doesn't mean that you'll not get a job or you'll not pursue a career or something. But I think Australia just provides a good channel, because it's considered as one of the world's best countries with the best universities. So
when you say best universities, which one do you go to?
So I haven't done my bachelor yet, but I think Australia is considered as has one of the top universities in the world. So I think that would be a reason as well.
Oh, that's good to hear that you went to one of the best universities in. Yeah. Well, when we are talking about Australia vis-a-vis what we see in Kenya, what are some of the social issues that are way different from what we see here in Australia?
Well, most people think that once you're in the diaspora, it's just a bed of roses. But actually, one thing I would say, what I've experienced is back at home in Kenya, we are used to that social life whereby, a good example, I can easily walk into my friend's house on a weekend when I'm not working and just say hi or something like that. But when you're out here, it means that you have to plan your timing, and it's like booking an appointment to even visit a brother, cousin, or a friend, because people have different work schedules. And also, one thing I'm seeing here is that the level of socialization is not as high as ours. People have, it's as if it's a, I can make it on my own, kind of. Not as such, but it's more of people feel self-sufficient, and there's no that outdoor life like back at home, because you find even for the kids, they're locked into their houses when they're leaving their house. When if they leave the houses, it means maybe they're going to the stores, to the mall, or they're going camping or something like that. But it's not more of us. We went out there, we were playing. You would go visit 3 different families in one day when there's no traffic. You know the traffic in Nairobi. So yeah, those are some of the things I'm thinking of. And things like climate. Personally, I chose South Australia because I knew I was coming with my family, and I don't find the weather to be so much different. The only thing is that if it's winter, like we're just starting winter, we might have a couple of days that are extreme, and if it's summer again, we have a couple of 38, 40 something degrees in the year. But I believe South Australia and Queensland have the closest weather to home.
Well, you see, if I can bring it into perspective, let's talk about issues like security, healthcare. Gloria, I have seen here in Australia, like for example, if you call an ambulance, especially if you're in the metro, they'll be there in less than 5 minutes. Why is it not the case in our country that we don't have elaborate healthcare system and response to emergencies?
I'll say maybe it's because we don't. I don't know what to say on that topic specifically, but I think with the current situation, like for example the corona situation at the moment, I think it will be a very big eye opener for our leaders and us to invest and to plan our health care in a better way, because now we don't have choices. Because I think in Kenya people tend to to fly, or to, if you have money, you get better health care. But I think with the current situation that you can't go abroad or you can't pay more to get better health services, I think that would be an eye-opener for Kenya to invest and to acknowledge that every person in the society, regardless of their class, economical class, are worthy of a good healthcare system. Yeah.
So in short, I would say it's the leadership that is failing us, because the leadership in Australia, irrespective of which state you are in, it seems to be uniform. There's no corruption. I think in our countries, one major issue is corruption. The leaders are unable to come up with good policies and legislation that would be helping our countries. What do you think, Anthony? Especially when it comes to healthcare.
Yeah, I would say I'll talk about the healthcare, but I want to, in a nutshell, I would say it's the system. I might be wrong, but at times you really feel like our system back at home is meant to fail systematically so that it serves others' interests. When I talk about health, I would say, for example, Kenya has so many facilities which are good. I mean, other African countries envy what we have. But what happens is just the system is meant not to work. I'll give you an example. Here, when you come, you have the Medicare card. So once you have a Medicare card, it's only maybe if you're a permanent resident or a citizen, you have the Medicare card. The Medicare card is something close to what we have NHIF card. So what happens is when we are going to the hospital or we are going to a clinic somewhere, you're not paying for anything. You're not paying consultation. The only thing you normally spend money on is the medicine. But if you've been admitted, it doesn't matter. You have cancer, you're having heart surgery or anything. The government takes care of that. You're not going to pay anything, even if you're in the hospital for months. And like now, there's the COVID going on. And if you have COVID, the expense of doing the test, the expense of everything is on the government. If you have to be isolated, unless it's self-isolation, the government, I mean, that's why, yes, we are here. We see when you get your slip, you pay a lot of tax, but when you see what the tax does for you, I mean, it just changes the whole what you think about it. And when we talk of because he talked of the ambulance and all that, here they have a policy. I mean, I'm not in the health sector, but I think if I'm not wrong, in the metro area, the response is 7 minutes, I think.
Yeah. But most of half the time, they are
it
always there
get
below 5 minutes.
If there is an accident, let's go back home. I used to live along Mombasa Road. So if there is an accident along Mombasa Road, I mean, they even hardly come, to be honest with you.
and the people, you find everyone coming to
you basically have to sort yourself. I mean, we are paying taxes, but here when there's an accident, the first on site is normally the
first responders.
The fire guys.
No, not even the fire guys. It's the eyewitnesses.
In Kenya or here?
In Kenya. No, you're talking here.
No, I'm talking of here.
I
normally see the fire guys. They're the ones who will clear the mess.
Yes.
The cops will also come, and I mean, when such a thing happens, you're taken care of. If you are kind of confused, some trauma or something, the people there, the people who come have the counseling capability. They have the medical to attend to injuries. You're taken to hospital. Nobody will ask you that this is your bill for the ambulance, this is your hospital bill. You don't need to worry about that. If your car is written off, it will be towed, and then insurance pays even without following up. I mean,
and I think we need to acknowledge that even here in Australia, the roads are so nice. But in Kenya, you getting an ambulance and the time that it takes for you to get the ambulance, just in case of an emergency, it depends with where you are, the kind of roads that lead to where you are. So it some of the little things that we might not think about it, but even our roads, the distance from the hospital to our homes, or whenever the emergency has happened, so that plays a major role.
But you see, it's not just about the roads, it's about the system, like it's Anthony said, because you see here, every suburb, they have their own metropolitan, what do we call it, the fire brigade, they have their own ambulance team. So because of that, the proximity of the ambulance to your house, that distance is quite limited, it's short. And that contributes the response. So what we need actually, and what drove us to Diaspora, is this kind of issues, where if we have a health issue, we are scared that it will not be attended to promptly. Let's talk about security. That's another thing. The policing in our country it's full of bribery, it's full of corruption, and those are some of the things that make you scared. If you have a lot of money, you'd rather invest in a different country than in your own country, because you're scared or you're not sure of your own security. What do you say about that, Anthony?
First of all, just to touch on something I wanted to mention is, here when you call 000, there's a working call center. And imagine it's routed through another state, and then you're routed back to your state, the call, and it takes just that, and they're on phone with you until the emergency person reaches your house or wherever you are. So they don't just disconnect. Now, we're talking of security. When I got here a couple of years back, there are two things that I noted immediately: security and transport system. And I didn't know how much this can have effect in an economy. For example, I've lived in Kenya all my life until I came here, and I didn't understand how you can sleep in a house, and at times you've even forgotten to lock the door. You've gone to work, your windows are open.
Do that in Kenya. If you try to do that in Kenya,
maybe it's not,
you can imagine what will happen.
It's not even a suburb that you'd say is just secure. I mean, overall, 90% of the places, though once in a while you'll have, not that it doesn't happen, it does happen. And then one thing that also shocked me is, I mean, you're walking, there was a time I woke up at 5 to put out the bin. It was within 2 months when I came here, just to, because I had forgotten we normally put the bin outside at night. And for some reason I took it out at 5, or we were leaving early for something, I can't remember. And I could see that's when the old people are doing their walks after 4 a.m. and I was shocked.
4 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's a secure place, I wouldn't expect that. And not that there's so much traffic, people walking around, but the level of security that you experience, and what I saw and thought about it is, one, it's in the mind of people. Maybe people have jobs. It's their culture as well, because
not everyone has jobs. We have so many people who are unemployed, and especially during these times of coronavirus, the rate has plummeted. It's over the roof now. Yeah. So I think poverty or other issues, like you're saying, like unemployment, they are not like directly proportional to the rate of corruption that we have. If we didn't have any corruption, we can actually be able to invest in our own countries and invest our knowledge, because most of us come here, we live very highly ranking jobs. You are educated. For example, when you came here, you already had your bachelor's. You are doing something in IT. You are making it well. You are doing it well, but you chose to come to Diaspora because you are not feeling that satisfaction, job satisfaction, and not just job satisfaction. Comes to security, comes to healthcare, comes to transport. For example, I remember if it rained in Kenya, all hell broke loose.
Transport prices
it's a crisis. And another thing, I remember back in the year 2010, I was driving in the streets, and somebody just came and plucked off my indicator and ran into the suburbs. You never find such kind of stuff happening, and those are some of the things, my viewers, that drove people to Diaspora. We have so much potential in our own countries, and this brain drain can be stopped if we have the right leadership. At this point, I just want to remind you that we are live on YouTube as well, and one way you can promote us and allow us to keep producing videos for you is for you liking, subscribing to our channel, hitting the notification button, and keeping it real, keeping it here locked and watching our videos. That way we'll keep bringing more and more interesting stuff from Diaspora. And these times where COVID-19 restrictions restricts us from traveling, we might not be able to come to Kenya in the interim, but it is our plan that Diaspora TV will come and air live from Kenya. I want to talk about that issue of security, and I want to specifically talk about the police. We see here, if the police stop you, traffic police, they will give you some options. And they don't all the time. They don't fine you all the time, and they will never ask you for a bribe. Why do you think in Kenya that when you are stopped by the police, the first thing you think about is how much you are going to give to the police? What can we do as a country in Kenya so that from Diaspora, we want to come to Kenya, but we want to come when everything or some things are straightened up? Why do you think this is the case?
This whole thing is about there's mentality factor in it, and there's the system as well. Not that, I mean, I don't want people to get us wrong. It doesn't mean that we are being critical of our country or what. I mean, those things, they're even happening here, but it's about the degree. I mean, you get one-off cases, not that they're not happening here. But what I would like to say is, I remember when NAC came into power in, I think it was 2007.
2007,
Yeah,
2007.
2002. Yeah.
The Rainbow Coalition.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, I remember very well the mood in the air and the way people were operating at the beginning. There was so much commitment, irrespective of your ethical background. There was commitment against corruption, and I mean, things started working, and they were working very well. So I believe at the end of the day, it's about leadership and leadership's commitment to systems that work for us as Kenyans. Why do I say this? Because we elect our leaders. They are the custodians of our life, actually, because they get our taxes. We tell them how we want to be governed, but there's no way that we can hold them accountable. If there's a way we can hold them accountable, then things can change. But the way the system already
there's no
is,
accountability at all.
yeah, there's no accountability, and there's no way we can push them. If we try to push them
How about
hard,
the courts? If you say there are no what about the courts, the parliament, the yeah?
I mean, that's why, I mean, in as much as people are being caught with corruption cases and all that, but we know at the top there are people who are corrupt. We don't even need to discuss about it.
Yeah.
But if that person at the top has never been held accountable, then how would you expect me to respect that same person? So it's a combination of the leadership, it's a combination of the system, as well as us who are in the system.
Yeah.
So me, what I would say is, even in this country where we are, we've seen cases of corruption, but there are cases that have been confirmed, people have paid the price, but the level of corruption that we have here cannot be. I mean, we see the money that we lose each and every year. Look at the money that Diaspora remits to Kenya.
Yeah.
It can do more than enough for us.
Of course.
And if you look at how Kenya
the remittances,
changed,
oh my God.
yeah, if you look at one thing that made me realize how much Kenya can change even with one presidential term, when Kibaki came in, Kenya changed so much.
Yeah, it did.
There was even the infrastructure, our economy generally changed, and countries recognized Kenya is heading somewhere.
Yeah.
Only for us to get back to where we started.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that our country and leadership basically has to do.
Yes.
And we need to see the commitment. I'm in the diaspora. I would like to come back home and live there. I mean, if systems are working, I don't have to be there because I'm even earning so much money. But if the environment is suitable for me, why should I be here? If I can be able to work and I know I'll be able to pay my mortgage in my lifetime in Kenya,
yes,
without struggling, I'll be able to afford schools for my kids. I don't have to take
and
my kids
you
to
talked about mortgages.
Schools. Yeah.
You know, I was just comparing how much we pay here for houses. For example, just a good house is $300,000. Which is equivalent to about
20 million, something
not 20, not 2 million.
300,000.
300,000 is about 2 million.
No, 30,000 is 2 million.
Oh, 20 million.
20
Yeah, you're right. So if you look at that, we afford houses, for example, like 20 million. Anybody here can afford such kind of a house. The only barrier is your residency status, because half the time, if you don't have a permanent residency or citizenship, that will not happen that easily. But as long as you have your papers, you can be able to afford a house worth 20 million in Kenya or more. There are people who are buying houses worth $700,000. Why is it not possible to do the same in Kenya? Any common mwananchi can just go to the bank, get a loan, and build a house worth 70 million.
Yeah, though for me, I would say in Kenya, if I get a 5 to 7, 10 million house, is good for me.
But even that, it's always hard to get.
Yeah,
it's always hard to get.
The thing is, you can get there, but you can't afford it. So what basically happens in our system is, I'll be bold on this one. The system is such that the people who are high up there, rich, capable, are the ones to own property. But us who are down here, we are supposed to maybe renting throughout our lives, maybe, because if, let's say in Australia, I think majority own houses, I believe.
Yeah. As long as you did tell our viewers, it's just not that easy. You just need to be permanent residents or citizen.
Yeah. So, and in many of the cases, the cost of mortgage is cheaper or same as rent. So you see, the system has been made, and this country encourages people to own property, not to rent property. So that's what we mean by the system. Even in Kenya, there's a lot of money, but in the hands of just a certain small percentage. So if, let's say, even 2/3 of Kenya were to own houses, what do you expect them to invest in? Where will their money come from? So I mean, I might be wrong, but those are the systems.
But look at it this way: we have a high rate of unemployment in Australia, but they usually have a reserve fund, and so many people get support. If you don't have employment, you get support from the government, and that is actually one way that they were able to curb insecurity or Yeah, you see, because if you're getting something at the end of the fortnight, and you are unemployed, then you will not go robbing people.
Yeah.
You see?
And John, this is where I'll add in something.
Yeah.
This is where I feel we are way better than most of these Western countries. including
So,
the
are you
US.
talking who is better, Kenya?
This is a place whereby I say,
Where, Australia?
no, Kenya will be better in one way. I'll explain it.
Mhm.
You see, in this Western world, people get subsidy. Here we call it Centrelink.
Yes.
So this is the money that you're given when you lose your job. You're not yet working. You get something every fortnight. It's just enough for your rent and your money, which is okay.
Yes.
But our mentality back at home, which I would support it this way.
Mhm.
Back at home, we
Yes.
just need an enabling system. We have good roads.
Yes.
Government cater of the transport system. Let it be affordable. When I go to school, let the school be affordable so that you're sure that you'll complete your education.
Yeah.
And after that, we just need you to, okay, there's creating jobs, or there are some who have the capabilities of creating their own organizations, employing others. So our mentality, specifically in Kenya, is we need the enabling environment. Don't even give me money at this stage.
Yes.
If I want money, maybe I want to start my own
I think
thing.
I tend
The
to differ with you on
the
that
government
part.
the government might give us funds
Yeah.
as youth or something like that to start something.
Yes.
They can give us something. I know, for example, in India, they're given
But it
money.
need to be regular income, in my own opinion, because why would we put up with insecurity rather than giving people something that will stop that insecurity?
No,
I'll bring
that
in
is the
Gloria.
enabling environment.
Let's see
But I
Gloria.
don't think that insecurity can just be stopped with just giving people money. I think it just starts from like the common mwananchi, even before it gets to leadership, to be empowered. I think
Yes.
generally a thief, even if they have money, they'll keep on stealing. So it's not that they lack money, but it's just their way of life, or maybe they're not just exposed enough to make their life worth more. I don't think even if we be giving them money monthly or fortnightly will erase
But it has
insecurity.
worked. It has worked in the Western world.
But I think personally
our own
we need to
systems.
empower people from when they are young
Yeah.
and create the correct mentality for our youth.
But look at it this way. Until the new constitution in Kenya, and where they came up with amendments to make it possible for the elderly to get some money, some social support from the government, our old people, they used to just languish with their families, and sometimes some of them would die in poverty. But right now, at least we know that the government gives something to the elderly. But this is something that has been here since time immemorial. That is, if you are a pensioner, if you are an old person, you've passed your retirement, the government will keep supporting you until your end of days. So you see, this is a system that doesn't just come from that part of giving the unemployed. It is supposed people who go on maternity leave. For example, if you go on maternity leave in Kenya, you only paid your 3 months and you go back to work. But it is possible here in Australia for you to take a whole month, a whole year of leave, because the government will pay you something at the end of the month, at the end of the fortnight.
I think what I get what you're saying, and it makes sense. The only difference is this: somebody who's retired or somebody is of age, he's worked, he has his savings, he's being funded. I know there are old people who are getting it, maybe didn't work and all that. I'm talking specifically, probably you studied, you are supposed to either start working or something like that. You need an enabling environment first, even before they start giving you.
And how do we get this enabling
Because
environment?
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
There are people who are out in the streets in Nairobi pushing the carts, the common mkokoteni. Start giving that person 5,000 every month. What makes you think he'll continue doing that?
I don't think that's a guarantee.
Okay.
And that's what I was saying.
Yes.
That will
Yeah.
not
So-
completely erase poverty, just giving them money. Yeah.
So that's why I feel, one, let's have good infrastructure. Let's have good systems in terms of, instead of giving us that money, make sure there are medicine in the hospitals. Make sure we are having piped water into all estates and everybody's give us all the basic needs. Why? If I have the basic needs, if I have my farm, I'll farm, okay? I'll take my produce to the market and I'll get even more than that 5,000 you want to give, because I believe there are systems that work in the Western, but we also need to think of systems that work for us.
But I think it
Because
starts at
the
the
mental-
grassroots. I
yeah.
think it starts at the grassroots.
Because
Yeah.
John, why am I stressing on this?
Mhm.
Kenyans have a mentality of working hard,
Mhm.
and I wouldn't like us
They
to
need to
lose
work
that. Let me
smart.
give you an example. Look at even Kenyans when they come here.
Mhm.
The way they work hard to achieve and get what they have. They even work hard to bring your brothers and sisters here,
Yeah.
and that's what you need to nurture. Because, sorry.
You want to say something? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just reading. I saw a statistic. I think it's last year somewhere that worldwide Kenya are the second. In America, the second most hardworking Africans or migrants.
Same in Australia.
Yes,
Yeah.
even
They're
here.
normal
Yeah.
over
So we really do work hard. But I think if you see in a country like Australia, we have so many sources of information, and I think it's getting into Kenya with all the social media, and everyone is being exposed to so many things. But I think even in schools here, they're empowered on saving their money. They are given so many information how they can be a better person when they grow up or in an outer world from school. Like I think for Kenya to get into a place where even when you're giving 500 or 5,000 Kenyan shilling to a person and they're not going to waste, is just to give them more knowledge on how they can make the 5,000 to be more money than working hard to get the same 5,000 next month. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think it's just the empowerment and the knowledge that we can give our kids. Here they encourage more talent, and I see in Kenya people are now like talent is actually starting to pay a little bit with all the musician and all that. But in the Western countries, they actually encourage people to invest and actually earn money from their talents, and I think that's the difference. Because in Kenya, a very good percentage of us, we are told you study. If you don't study and work, you'll not get money. But I think the world has come to a place that when you have information and you don't use it, you're actually not gonna go anywhere, because everyone now can get information. But if we invest in things like talent and work smart, not necessarily hard. The hard work has to be there, but we need to work smart, not just waiting on the government to create employment, but actually thinking outside the box and asking yourself. Because I think Kenyans, we are so used to saying, oh, I can't afford that, this is only meant for this specific type of person. What if we change our mentality and ask ourselves, how am I going to reach to where, I want to be? And I think another thing that I came to learn as I grew older is that we are not taught from a younger age of being great people.
Mm-hmm.
We are not taught of having goals in your life and actually working towards achieving the goals. We're just told you go school, after that get married. Like, okay, I think especially for the lower class people in the society, it's always like we live for today. We're not taught, and even parents can like do this to their children. We're not taught on living life past today. You know what I mean? So I think that also contributes.
And I totally agree with you that this is something that contributes to that. But what can we do now as people in diaspora? What is it that we can do to help our motherland? Anthony?
I think it's just what we are starting to do now. Information in power. I work in that information sector, and information is power. You can't empower somebody without knowledge. I know they're on the ground. They know better what's going on. They have different means of survival, but at the end of the day, it's a combination of ideas. I mean, I might see an opportunity here, but I can't implement it back at home, even if I was to go back, because somebody's more experienced has been there the last couple of years that I was not there. And what I would like to say is that people need to realize you need to dig deeper and know your potential, your capability, and look at how that can benefit you. First of all, think about what you can do, what you want to be, without thinking of the borders or the limitations that you might have. Just see yourself achieving something, because by that you're basically already challenging yourself. And don't think of, if somebody was able to do this, he had to go through so many things, or she had to go through so many challenges to get there. That is the only way you'll also get to that level. You have to challenge yourself, have to look at the impossibilities as possibilities. And at the same time, people should not feel discouraged, whether in the diaspora or back at home. Don't feel discouraged with whatever you're doing. Always target to achieve your goals. The other way we can help is, reach out to Diaspora TV. Reach out to people who are out here. And don't just reach out because there's a mentality, oh, mi nataka kwenda majuu and such. It's not just that. Us, we've been here, and like in my case, I wish I can do something at home. I mean, that's one of my visions. So it gives you the thought of, even us in the diaspora, we know there's value back at home. So look around your environment. There's a lot to offer.
Thank you. And as you continue to watch us, I would like to continue to remind you that we are live on YouTube as well. Support us, promote us. Make sure you like, subscribe, and make sure you hit that notification bell. And most importantly, can you tell others about this channel? Spread the word. We are going to change the world. We are going to change Kenya and the entire world in general. Well, we're nearly coming to the end of this episode. We'll continue with this more and more as days in the coming days. Silence means consent. And we also say that silence gives the oppressor more opportunity to continue oppressing. Well, why am I saying this? I'm saying all this in light of what is happening in the world. Yesterday we saw a lot of protest for Black lives. And the only wrong thing you can do at this time is remaining silent. As a Black person, whether in diaspora or wherever you are in Kenya, in Africa, I want to urge you, the way we say in Kenya, hatutapiga kelele. We are not going to remain silent. Make sure you speak up and support Black people. Let me say this, support all lives. All lives matter. Because the life of George Floyd mattered, we saw what happened in America. Humanity stopped. Nearly, I think it's over a week ago. Humanity stopped. His death is going to change the world. We are not going to let that happen again. And as we continue to talk about white diaspora, we are going to continue to dissect this issue of racial discrimination as well. Keep it locked here. We are going to have many guests coming here. We are going to discover a lot of truths. We're going to have someone coming to expose some issues that some people may say are conspiracies. So keep it locked here. Make sure you subscribe. It's only by subscribing that you know what when we upload our videos. I would like to give special thanks to our guest. Thank you, Anthony, very much for accepting the call to come to our studios, and your input tonight was very helpful to many people. I know someone may have learned something from there. And Gloria, I'll give you some moment to give you a parting shot, but we appreciate you in Diaspora. We appreciate you in Diaspora TV. Thank you for being here in our studios. Thank you very much. We can start with you, your parting shot.
For me, I'll just say that change starts with an individual. So I'll encourage you to go out there, set goals and purpose to accomplish your goals. It just start from with you. So if one person be a better person today and another one be a better person tomorrow, we're gonna bring our upper Kenya that has never been there before. We'll bring growth and all that. So just be an individual who will bring better, be a better person in anything that you do, be it the kind of job that you do. Just be a better person and set goals that you can be to accomplish the goals. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you very much, Gloria. Anthony, give us your parting shot.
All I can say is keep looking at keep an eye on Diaspora TV. You'll be empowered, you'll be informed, you'll get to know more about this environment, and also we'll get to share more also from home. There's a lot we'd like to know, and yeah, I mean, keep the fire burning. Diaspora TV.
Well, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to our channel once again. I want to let our guests say in unison, please subscribe. So you wait at the count of 3. You say subscribe. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So 1, 2, 3. Please
Subscribe.
Bonyeza kidude.
Bonyeza and press the notification bell.
Bonyeza kidude. Press the notification bell so that you get alerts whenever there's something new coming up or uploaded, and just keep it Diaspora TV. Thank you
Thank you very much for watching and joining us. We appreciate it.